heard Shifter talking about Cloud9, they like the aggression, but I do have to say there were moments of over-aggression there early in the game that, scared me a bit in terms of just handing a couple kills over and looking for fights that weren't quite there.
Yeah, you missed the first Q in your lane gank to get Slooshy. You have to take all the next 5 Qs. You land them, you're like, at least I took it. And then they ended up with teammate, having a little bit of an advantage, but then it was a really bloody game.
Yeah.
But then from that point on, it was all teammates' blood.
Well, when we were watching even the champion select, we saw teammates' team composition and said this would be a really solid team fight team. But if they get into scattered fights or the game prolongs or they fall behind, they're going to have a lot of issues. And to Team Dignitas' credit, even after teammate was ahead of them, they found the scattered fights. Shifter was mentioning Gamsu being an absolute beast, and I have to echo that. Gamsu played probably the best out of everyone in that game, and it's a big reason they're able to win because of the skirmishes.
Yeah, both of them had fabulous score lines there, and I want to echo the sentiment again that I really want to hammer at home the idea that they regrouped as a team. Team Dignitas regrouped there, being down, and realized what their win conditions were for their team, that they weren't going to be able to take fights straight up. They needed to separate it out, prolong the fights, and really take basically mini 1v1s and 2v2s around the jungle.
Yeah, and I think a really big thing here for Team Dignitas is they knew their opponent through and through. They went to Calitroll's tendencies of wanting to engage, and they made a target look really tasty, and then they would bait him into fights. And then later on, they went back to the Dignitas that we saw 2 weeks ago, where they were picking people off with vision, or a week ago, actually, where they were picking people off with a lack of vision. I thought that was fantastic, because we saw Cali fall into that pitfall, and I wonder if that's Cloud9 calling those vision shots, or who's doing that exactly.
And teammate.
It's brilliant.
Right? Everyone follows Calitrolls. So that means if you can bait him, you bait
everybody.
Right?
Well, so now, I do kind of want to focus in on teammate just real quickly here, because that is a loss off of an early game lead where they have the team comp that, again, as we just discussed, we were like, they can set up for team fights so well. They can get the engagements they want, the Sivir ultimate into a Vi ult with the ball delivery and the Maokai. Like, how does that not work? What is going wrong with this team that they're allowing themselves to be put into these scattered situations and not just grouping and going objective to objective?
Yeah, the strong point of teammate is their late game team fighting. They look like nothing this game. They didn't have a good laning phase. They didn't have a good team fight phase. Their comp that they drafted for themselves was really well-rounded. And if they were able to keep Team Dignitas down the entire time, like a Renekton behind against a Maokai is pretty irrelevant. A Caston against an Orianna, you keep him from scaling up. They had a lot of options here, but they just didn't execute well at all. It was very poor shot calling in that mid-game, early game even, when they were giving things up. It was just a really just all-around fight. Like, teammate, you think team fights. They didn't team fight well at all. They got picked off, and then it was like nothing from there.
Yeah.
They kind of just scattered to...
It was skirmishes was the problem.
This is the double-edged sword, though, that happens with teammate, where they're all kind of lemmings. When it's like, like you said, Calitrolls gets picked off, and they all have to follow. They're like, he's in the death chamber, jump into.
Yep.
It's the double-edged sword, because they fight really well some games, and in other games, they just look absolutely terrible.
Well, it sounds like back to the drawing board for teammate, as Freak had mentioned. Both of these teams moving to 3 and 5. It has been an exciting week.